Alright. What's up, y'all? Just about that most. Jakrishu. I'm Shim. He's not a simp. He's a pimp who walk with a limp. Do he know how to dip? And he the type of guy just to eat on some chips. Today we got Rage Music is Changing. Remember the last time we watched Trippy, yeah, 1400. Blah, blah, blah. I got one in a chamber, two
Rage
with the
music
laser.
is one of the biggest subgenres in hip-hop, gaining tremendous popularity these past few years, with some of the most impactful albums in this decade being a part of the Rage.
Fried jumping in the two for shades and try to look good. I've tasted. What bad wood? What my keys in? What my bitch? Bow, bow, bow. One in the chamber, two with the laser. Different flavors. Anyways, for all my new viewers, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow our social media. It's gonna pop on the screen. We're gonna go to 500. Let's get it.
Rage music is one of the biggest subgenres in hip-hop, gaining tremendous popularity these past few years, with some of the most impactful albums in this decade being a part of the Rage genre, with artists like Cardi, Lil Uzi Vert, and Trippie Redd being major pioneers of this genre, later influencing some of the biggest artists of this new generation like Yeat, Osama Sun, Ken Carson, Shay, and more. And throughout the years, it has evolved like crazy, changing year by year. But in this video, let's take a look at the evolution of the Rage genre, some of the biggest Rage albums to drop year by year, and the future of Rage. Taking it back to over a decade ago in 2015, in the early stages of the Rage genre. Now, a lot of people have different opinions on who started the Rage genre, and before all the Future fans jump me, I gotta mention that I Serve the Bass was a very early prototype of the Rage genre. I mean, a lot of people, just called this song trap mixed with EDM and rave. Yeah, man, this song was pre-Rage. It was basically just trap, but I had to mention it. Obviously, in the SoundCloud era around 2016, this era was...
Okay. FX, I feel like top 5 Rage people. Number 1 is Playboy Cardi on X. Trippy. I think they say it on some song, Netspin, and then if you really want to put Lil Uzi Vert on that boat too. I don't know.
But I had to mention it. Obviously, in the SoundCloud era around 2016, this era was booming with the prominent genre for newer artists being trap, with one of those artists in those eras being Uzi. Now, when Uzi was working with Molly Ron in 2016, many would again argue that Uzi would be the first to do the Rage sound with songs like Do What I Want and Money Longer. But again, this is obviously very, very early Rage. Even in 2017 to 18 with Cardi's run dropping self-titled, people argue that Woke Up Like This is a Rage song. R.I.P. is also a song that I do want to mention, which many fans say is the first Rage song. But again, Rage would be in its very early stages, being mostly trap at the time. But the year that we would hear the first initial Rage songs would easily be 2020. Now, in 2020, we would see a wave of a lot of underground artists. It was just overall the year that the Rage sound would officially be birthed. Now, before the Rage sound would go mainstream, there were already underground artists using Rage beats, like for example, for Sofig with Off the Map, which is probably one of the best Rage songs of all time. And we also see Ken Carson use it as well for his song Yield. So yeah, man, it was definitely ahead of its time in 2020, as some of the underground rappers at the time were already using it, and even some mainstream rappers like for example Trippie Redd would also hop on it early before dropping Trip at Night that next year with songs like Star Power and Hello Kitty, which many people say is the first ever Rage song.
Hellcat say meow, smoke cat pissy now.
After Ken, Fago, and Trippie were kind of using it mid to late 2020, at the end of 2020, the first ever Rage album would emerge, that of course being Whole Lotta Red. Now, Whole Lotta Red would be the...
Rockstar Ning! Yeah. Rockstar Ning! Rockstar Ning! I like that song.
first ever Rage album and would basically birth a generation of artists who would use Rage and evolve it even further. And yeah, this album would of course be Cardi's most experimental album yet, using hella Rage beats that are mostly produced by Filthy and Art Dealer, who would also be big pioneers to the Rage genre as well. And as soon as the album did drop, bro, as many of you guys may know, this album did get shat on because of how unorthodox it was from Cardi's past albums, with the distortion and Cardi's erratic vocals just being too much for the average ear to, handle. Of course, just being the perfect mosh pit concert album, which is a huge part of Rage music. And of course, when Whole Lotta Red dropped, world was on lockdown. So yeah, I mean, there were obviously no shows happening at the time. Back then, seeing the distortion on Whole Lotta Red, it was so much more tame than a lot of the Rage that we hear nowadays, bro. But yeah, man, Cardi is still a big influencer for the Rage genre. But before Cardi would drop Whole Lotta Red, Trippie Redd would preview a snippet which would change the genre forever and giving the genre a official name, that being Rage, after Trippie did preview the song called Mr. Rage, which this video of Trippie previewing it is forever iconic looking back on it. And as soon as Trippie did preview Mr. Rage, it would instantly go viral, with fans creating fan-made versions of the song with Cardi on it, with even Mario Judah hopping on as well. Which, yo, Mario Judah is also an artist I do want to mention who was hopping on these Rage beats early as well. Obviously, at the time, he was seen as a meme artist recreating Whole Lotta Red.
Yeah. Mario Judah, he was a good artist, but if he would have dropped like after the Cardi thing, I think he still would have been relevant. But he lost a lot of weight though. I give him that though. He lost a lot of weight.
But yeah, man, this was overall a very, very fun time period in general, with like Whole Lotta Red dropping and Mario Judah going viral, as well as Trippie proving one of the biggest hits that he was gonna drop that next year in 2021. And now in 2021, we'd see this genre grow even bigger. Whole Lotta Red was starting to grow on fans, with the world opening back up. Cardi can finally do shows, that being most notably Lollapalooza 2021, as well as Trippie Redd rolling out Trip at Night, making a whole album behind the Rage sound because of how viral Mr. Rage already was before it even dropped. When Mr. Rage dropped, bro, with Cardi, it would instantly go viral, with both artists at the time being the biggest Rage pioneers, and it would not only boost Trippie's career, giving him another hit, but it would also lead to the Rage genre gaining more popularity, leading to more people tapping into Whole Lotta Red, because obviously Mr. Rage did drop a couple of months after Whole Lotta Red, and it definitely played a big part into the genre growing more and more, and Whole Lotta Red getting more and more love that it would deserve. And in early to mid 2021, we'd begin to see many underground artists start to use Rage beats, primarily from Cardi's label Opium, with Ken Carson being seen as the Opium prodigy. Ken was obviously using Rage beats the year before with Yale, but he dropped Project X in that summer, with this being the perfect debut album for him. And the producers on Project X, for example, like Starboy and Out of Town, are also producers that I do want to mention, having major impacts to the Rage genre, gaining even more popularity working with Opium. But Project X still, in my opinion,
that's what I need. I need like I need a personal producer and an audio engineer. Well, a producer and an audio engineer at one. I need to get one of those, bro. I don't know, like, with a final, bro. Like, I'm dead ass need like lock in like on some real shit. Just like the lock in, and then we could just like blow up together and stuff. Well, you could be my personal producer, and then when that time come, I'm gonna pay you a bunch of money. So yeah.
Has to be some of the best beat selection and just beats that I've ever heard Ken use ever. It's like, bro, the beats that Ken did use on Project X, bro, a lot of the synths were so much more smoother than the beats that Ken uses nowadays, bro. And the beats on Project X almost had a pop trap sound to it, but at the same time, it had that bass to it, which obviously made it a Rage song. With the Rage sound growing because of Mr. Rage, not only would Ken get bigger with Project X, we'd also see Yeat start to gain popularity in 2021, and Cardi's Whole Lotta Red influence would be so evident that a lot of Yeat's biggest songs in this year, or like in this era, were from Whole Lotta Red type beats. Like, for example, Sorry About That, Get Busy, all from Whole Lotta Red Cardi beats. And it's clear that Yeat was a fan of Cardi, as he also was remixing Cardi songs as well. Yeat's Yeat's run in 2021 was insane, as well as a lot of the beat selection on like 4L produced by Tragic. And yo, one thing that I do want to say, which was a common trend in this year, was that the beats that these rappers were rapping on were very, very different, being like very synth heavy, almost like alien beats. I want to say like a lot of the beats sounded like you were inside of a UFO or something, bro. But aside from Yeat and Ken pushing the sound even further, and we would see so many other underground rappers blow up off of rage beats, like for example SG Kobe with MIA, Vega with
and SG Kobe barely dropped, but you can catch him on SoundCloud sometimes, bro. I don't know. And so Fago, bro, next time once in a while, he be dropping something. I think he going on tour though. He going on him and Don Tedler about to go on tour for 3 months. So that's gonna be good. But I don't know. No artists never come to like Louisiana for some reason. I don't know why.
Was already using rage beats before, but Off the Map was just getting bigger and bigger. And we had Tana with Antisocial, Can with Ain't Gonna Heaven, or just that Oxy and Coding EP in general, Ken with Rock and Roll and just Project X, Yeat with Sorry About That and 4L, and also Kushais with Tell 'Em.
X is not like a rage song, like, or it's like a punk rock song, like, or like a punk rock vibe song, but it's chilling, a chill song. Like what type of genre he in though?
Which went fucking huge, and a personal favorite of mine that did jump that year, that being K-Swab's Sexually Active featuring Trippie Redd. But yeah, man, the summer of 2021, we would see this genre reach new heights, and it was actually so refreshing seeing a new sound that so many new artists were gravitating towards. And this is also a reason why everyone misses that 2021 underground, right? But that same summer, we would see Trip at Night drop by Trippie Redd, and with Trippie already being mainstream and basically starting the genre with Mr. Rage, pushing it to new heights, he would do it even further, dropping an entire Rage album and incorporating other mainstream artists on Rage beats. Like for example, having Drake on a Rage beat with the song Betrayal.
Man, turn that whack ass shit off, bro. That garbage ass shit, bro. The fuck that shit out my fucking ear, man.
Already being a hit, him taking advantage of the popularity of Rage at the time and dropping an entire Rage album was definitely needed, and he indeed delivered. And I wish I could hear this album again, man, because it honestly was a freaking classic. But with Trippie pushing Rage more into the mainstream, we would see other underground rappers who were on Rage enter the mainstream as well, that being Yeat that fall, dropping his album Up to Me, which fans still think is Yeat's best album. And yeah, Yeat would have his own spin on the Rage beats, like, you know, for example, incorporating bells.
I just looked it up for X genre, y'all. It said X Tectonic was a versatile been an area using with a emo rap and SoundCloud rapper and a trap music basis. It's crazy. Wait, I want to smooth this.
So yeah, it was so cool to see other artists experimenting more with the sound, which I think Yeat definitely did a great job. But yeah, overall in 2021, as I did mention before, a lot of the Rage beats did have a similar theme, having similar synths, similar 808s and beat patterns, and a lot of these same artists having the same go-to producers for this Rage sound. But yeah, man, Yeat definitely popularized Rage beats, having a more dark style with Up to Me. But those Rage beats that Trippie was using on Trip at Night, those space, synthy, EDM, hyperpop inspired beats were beginning to fade as they were evolving even further, and those initial Rage beats were beginning to get a bit repetitive. And even though it was fairly new, that next year in 2022 there were already talks that the genre wouldn't last, which would lead to in 2022 Trippie not returning to the Rage sound. Of course, Cardi went mysterious after dropping Whole Lotta Red, not dropping anything and being nowhere to be seen in 2022. So it was up to the new guys, the underground artists, to push the Rage sound. And with Cardi being nowhere to be seen in 2022, this would be the year that his label would gain more and more popularity, with Ken and Lone dropping some of their best work this year, with first thing first, that being Ken Carson's album X, taking a massive shift from Project X, taking a more darker turn, and a lot of the beats that he was rapping on sounding darker and more grungier, and just having more bass than Project X. Even with Yeat As well, we would see the same thing with his album 2 Live, which the production on this album was mad, bro. Like, I remember my first time hearing 2 Live, it was actually fucking, like, you know, amazing. And Yeat would, of course, go mainstream at the time of 2 Live, and he would, of course, evolve the Rage sound even further on this album with songs like Never Again, for example.
Okay, the only reason why I'm doing this and turning it down and turning it back, because I'm not trying to get nothing to copyright, but yeah, that's the only reason why I'm doing that.
Even Yeat's album Life at the end of that year too would be a lot darker from like basically any of his past projects, and just the overall image of Rage music would become less colorful, which can be proven especially with Opium, with their aesthetic in 2022 being that all black mysterious aesthetic. And speaking of Opium, I have to mention Lone's No Styles. Now, I feel like Lone isn't seen as a Rage artist, but a lot of the production on No Styles is mad, and I just had to, like, you know, mention it. And he experimented with the Rage sound the best out of any underground rappers at that point, incorporating different samples from Crystal Castles, and bro, just this entire album, No Styles, was just impressive. Homicide Gang as well, taking Rage to a whole new level with Homicide Lifestyle. But yeah, man, in 2022 we would see a shift into Rage being pioneered by a lot of the newer artists, that being primarily Ken Lone and Yeat, and we'd like also see, like, you know, other artists like Lancey gain immense popularity, which I feel like Lancey never gets credit, but like, yo, he is one of the first UK artists to hop on Rage. Very, very cool to see.
Yeah, she call me Lancey, I Lancey.
God damn.
Rage wasn't as big as 2021 in terms of hits, but there were still a lot of solid Rage songs and albums, like of course 2 Live X, No Stylist, Lancey's album Life in Hell, and we'd also have other underground artists like Hard Rock experiment with Rage with his song Feel Alive. Have, you know, other artists like Glock 40 Spaz, who I also want to mention, blending the ATL trap sound with Rage. There were just a lot of new artists this year, which was great to see. And now in 2023, we would see another major shift to the genre, as at the start of the year, we would have one mainstream artist using the Rage sound, that being NBA Youngboy with I Rest My Case with his song Black. Crazy. Now, NBA Youngboy was using the Rage sound the year before with that one song hit with DaBaby, but I thought it was pretty cool to see a big mainstream artist hop on this Rage sound. And of course, YB and Cardi would later lock in. So yeah, man, this was pretty cool. And also, YB would lock in with Yeat that same year. So yeah, man. And speaking of Yeat, Yeat would start off the year with his album Afterlife, again having very dark elements to the project, and also this project being more mysterious and slower than his past albums like 2 Live, 4L, and Up to Me. Like, for example, songs like None I. And also, this year would be the year
now,
that
Yeat, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna hold you. That Yeat, that summer one, I liked that. I like that. Like, come on, let's go. Like now, show me how you think when the night, cause I want you, I need you right now. Give me face, okay, right now.
pioneers like Uzi tap back into Rage, with Uzi dropping his album Pink Tape, with some songs on Pink Tape like Suicide Doors.
Boy, that man got all the songs today. Damn, Chan.
Does Rage probably
AC.
Pink Tape is probably my favorite Uzi project, even though, like, you know, Pink Tape was very experimental and they gave very mixed opinions. Uzi's energy was mad, and that same summer in 2023 we would see the start and the birth of new underground Rage artists, like first Osama Sun, who would blow up out of nowhere with Osama Season. Now bro, this album would be a great debut album, with obviously Osama working with OK, who would be the future of the Rage sound, as well as other producers like ROK and Perk 40, whose beats were so much more distorted and grungier, like for example on songs like X and Sex and Kutta. Drop Osama Season, he would get the Ken Carson comparisons, like be called a Ken Carson clone, but Osama would stick to his sound and only get better and better, which would lead to fans changing their opinions as the years would come. And this year we'd also see more Rage songs.
I thought he was getting that explaining it.
the best decision ever, because they literally made a mosh pit anthem and it would become an instant hit, with Travis's popularity and Cardi making the biggest comeback after years appearing on Theme, which would be a huge moment for rap. Yeah, man, in terms of the actual evolution of this sound, that same fall we probably get the most iconic Rage album, that being Ken Carson's A Great Chaos. Now, yo, Ken Carson's previous albums were obviously known as being more trap and melodic, especially with Project X, but yo, A Great Chaos was a complete flip. Now, yo, right off the bat from the aesthetic, Ken was already pushing a more darker, grungier aesthetic, as well as the music that he was previewing, shocking fans, because it was like, bro, I've never heard this sound from Ken ever. And a lot of the, like, you know, songs on this album were carrying so much bass and distortion, and the album literally sounded like one massive horror movie, especially hearing some of the beat selections on this album, like Me and My Cup and Lose It. Bro, the production was mad, with Starboy, Out of Town, and Gabe crafting the most insane beats that Ken would rap on this project. This album would definitely show the evolution of the Rage sound, of course being more darker, more distorted, faster drum patterns, and with the sound evolving, it would lead to the sound still being alive and around with The Great Chaos instantly catching mainstream attention and putting Ken into the big leagues. And another album that I do want to mention being huge for the Rage genre is Flex Music. Now, yo, prior to Flex Music, Osama was seen as a Ken clone, and the fans would be shocked after Flex Music did drop, and basically everyone would retract their statements of Osama being a Ken clone. Obviously, A Great Chaos did change the Rage sound in terms of adding
at that one point, they were saying that boy was like Playboy Cardi at one point. Now he was a Ken clone? Like, God, bro. The fans just don't know what they want to say now. Like, God.
distortion. But yo, the production on Flex Music would be the cherry on top, with songs on Flex Music like Baghdad, For the Flex, and Trenches. Bro, his song Trenches, as well as Ken's song Lose It, was basically like 70% bass.
Damn.
Distortion would be something that we would see for the years to come. But yeah, man, in 2023, it would be a great year for Rage. This year, we had mainstream artists like YB, Uzi, and Travis use the sound. And of course, Ken Carson's A Great Chaos being a huge impact to the sound. And Osama paving his own lane for Flex Music, and so many more underground artists who would later take over. And now in 2024, it would be a pretty quiet year for a lot of the main Rage artists, but we would see a primarily underground artist take over. And one thing that I would find interesting in this year is some Rage artists incorporating.
Hey, that boy, I ain't listen to the thing. I said, hey, talk about letting that spin, and he talk about that spin.
EDM pop into their music, like for example, Two Hollis, who would blow up this year. This is what caught my eye this year, and it was cool to see Rage branching out into a different lane, incorporating more electronic music, which fans of Ken Carson and Osama would start to fuck with Two Hollis because of how similar the energy was with both of their music. And one thing that I do want to mention about Rage music is how it's the best music for concerts. And this year was the year that Two Hollis did open up for Ken's Chaos Tour, and his shows went fucking crazy. So yeah, man, this was very, very cool to see. And we'd also see Shay drops Say So Says, which again did use a lot of electronic hyperpop elements, like on this song It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want To.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to a Shay album. I got to.
Music being colorful again. It's like, bro, this album sounded like one big party, bro. A lot of people called this album like, you know, ear cancer or like just noise. Hey, honestly, bro, this album had everything that you would want from a Rage album, having super creative beats, and it's just something that we've never heard from an artist before, which did make me a fan of Che. We'd also see artists like Pretty Fun as well drop his album Funhouse the same time period as Say So Says. Again, was a very, very bright and energetic album, which low-key brought me back to 2021 because of how bright and energetic these sound.
Yeah, I got to know that dude about like 2 weeks ago on TikTok, bro. Like he popped up on my TikTok For You page. I was like, bro, I think he was like him and Shay was beefing or some stuff like that, bro. I don't know if they still beefing on that, but
was evolving to, bro, and it was a lot less dark and intense from the Rage albums that we would hear the year prior, like A Great Chaos.
bro. They got
But
me.
in
My mouse
2024,
told
we
me.
would see the genre.
Boy, my mouse told me. They got me. The copyright got me. They got me, man. Yeah, they got me. It's over. They got me, bro. They got me for that one right there. Oh, bro. So my mouth want to hold me. The mouse knew I was trying to hurry up and mute that. Dumbass mouse.
Electronic inspired route, with the genre being carried by mostly underground artists this year with notable albums this year. I mean, like obviously the Great Chaos Deluxe from Ken, of course Flextra by Osama's son, and Osama was just getting bigger and bigger. And we also have Yeat, who would change his sound for his album 2093, being a more futuristic sound. We'd have other underground artists like Molly Santana and Richard Lee take over. And we'd also see the introduction to Netspend, as he would go crazy in 2024 with Badass Fucking Kid, which was a pretty good album, as well as his song Nothing Like You.
Trying to geek.
But this year was the overall solid year for Rage, as a lot of the up-and-coming artists were using it heavily. And now in 2025, we would see another shift in the genre, this time being by both underground and mainstream artists. Now, we actually would start off the year with Osama Son's Jump Out, which, yo, I have to mention this album, bro, because this entire album sounds like drugs in a good way. We'd start to see Rage music in general have very, very loud 808s and drums, which will be so prominent on Jump Out, with OK producing a lot of the album pretty much. And yeah, if you were to show this album to anyone over the age of fucking 30, bro, they would probably disintegrate, bro. Like, this album was very, very unorthodox. Rage pioneers finally drop, aka Cardi, who, although Cardi did not drop a Rage album, it was a trap album, a fucking 30-song trap album music, and there were some Rage songs on this project, like for example Olympian, Cocaine Nose, and of course Pop Out, which isn't exactly Rage, it's like more industrial hip-hop, but it does have that same energy as the Rage songs, being from that cave era of Cardi.
Yeah, damn.
I do indeed wish that this album had more Rage songs, since I think Cardi thrives on those songs rather than songs like Billy or Munyon. But yeah, man, of course, music, I would not get the best perceptions in comparison to Whole Lotta Red, but it would sell 300k, so yeah, man, can't hate. But Ken would return, dropping his own Rage album, that being More Chaos, and the name of the album would speak for itself, as it was indeed More Chaos. And yeah, man, this album was loud. Definitely Ken did evolve the chaos sound, as a lot of the songs on this album sounded fucking crazy. Like, the fans would think this album is very, very repetitive, as the entire album was just straight up all chaos songs. And it obviously isn't as impactful or as good as a Great Chaos, but it definitely shows how much Rage has developed since Ken was first using it on Project X, which this album made fans seriously miss the older Project X days. But yeah, man, this album was definitely pushing Rage to its limits, the distortion being on a whole different level. And yeah, man, just the music being so fucking loud would be a trend of things that we would see later this year. For example, that same year, last year, we would see Che drop Rest in Bass, which again, the name would speak for itself. Now, right off the bat, as soon as this album dropped, fans were comparing it to Whole Lotta Red, and it would literally sound like Whole Lotta Red but on steroids, especially that song On Fleet, bro. Goddamn. Yeah, man, one thing that I do love about this album is Che's energy. Che's energy on this project made it so iconic for Che fans. It, again, was not for old heads, bro. Even Whole Lotta Red fans were scratching their heads listening to this project. But yeah, man, Che definitely pushed the limits of Rage on this project, with this album basically sounding like one giant mosh pit. Che was like screaming on songs, expanding his vocal range. It definitely brought back the punk, carefree energy to Rage, which I think was Che's goal for this project. Another big Rage album that we would see literally a couple months later is Psychotic. Again, it would be in the name. Right off the bat, bro, from the first song Habits, it was clear on how much Rage has evolved and how much distortion had been more and more prominent as the years would go by.
God damn. Yeah, they ain't joking about that one.
Sounded like Final Evolution Osama. Like, bro, if you were there at the Psychotic tour, bro, y'all know how insane that shit was. But yeah, man, this was probably the most chaotic Rage album that I've ever heard, with each song being so unique, and the engineer on this album was definitely like going crazy, mixing all these distorted beats and vocals. But yeah, man, this is probably my favorite album from Osama, as his vocals and his flows would complement the beats so well. There were beats on this album that, you know, got me like, bro, Osama, how the fuck are you rapping on this? Like, for example, T193. So yeah, man, Che and Osama definitely did their thing with their albums being the future of the Rage sound, and they both dropped a better Rage album than Ken Carson, which is crazy. But yeah, man, in 2025, we would see Rage in such a different state than it was when it was first introduced in 2020, especially with Whole Lotta Red. Like, bro, when Whole Lotta Red dropped, fans thought it was crazy and unlistenable. But yo, imagine if you went back in time and you showed the average hip-hop listener Rest in Bass and Psychotic. Like, bro, imagine 2025 would be a great year for the genre last year, as it would again prove that this sound is only growing with Osama and Che pushing it. We'd also have other mainstream artists still use it this year, like of course the On Dangerous Summer artists like Lucy Bedrock.
That's a good album.
Rock again having that electronic influence on his album On Musique. And one thing that I do love about Rage is how many different lanes it has, bro. Like, it obviously has the EDM electronic shit, the chaos, distortion shit, but at the end of the day, it's all Rage. And now currently in 2026, as we are in the first quarter of this year, we are already seeing the evolution of the Rage sound, as of course, as of now, Che and Osama are the new leaders of this sound. We have artists like Too Slimy and Bleod, or Bleod. I don't even know how to freaking pronounce his name.
Just say Bleed. Just say Bleed. He gonna rock with it. Just go with Bleed.
Who are pushing the limits of distortion with their music having 90% bass. Like, bro, Too Slimy has a genuine fan base, but I can't hate because I'm big on, Osama and Che, and they're already seen as, unlistenable by Rap Caviar fans. But I haven't reached Too Slimy level yet, bro. But yeah, man.
Yeah, me either, bro. I don't know, son. I just couldn't, son, bro. Every time I listen to a Too Slimy song, bro, and saying he probably gonna use this for promo, bro. It make my head hurt, bro. Like, real talk.
There is a lot of, great underground artists who are pushing the sound, like, of course, Lucy, who I did mention, Slayer, who is my personal favorite. But yeah, man, again, in 2020.
Oh, yeah, that Slayer album, I listened to it. Amazing album. That's a good album. I'm not even gonna hold you. That's a good album. Him and Netspin dropped at the right time to drop at March 6th. I told y'all that March 6th was going to be the best. Was going to be the best. That March 6th, I think that was what it is. Yeah, March 6th was going to be the best time to drop that mode.
26, man, the Rage sound is in the new underground rappers' hands, and I think it's in great hands because there is a lot of good up-and-coming Rage artists who are taking the sound to new highs day by day. And currently in 2026, this sound isn't dead, bro. Y'all can say what y'all want, bro, but I don't see.
Nah, I don't think Rage music is gonna die no time soon, to be honest with you. But hope y'all enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow social media. Social media, they pop on the screen when I wrote a 500, and I'm out.